we get started on Getcha Popcorn Ready podcast. We're here with Anjelah Johnson. We're just here chopping it up. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you
Now
for
we
having
can go ahead and forget that intro and go back to what we were just talking about, your name.
Yeah, I have a story behind it.
What's the story?
Oh, I need to hear it. Get your popcorn ready.
Because we got a story.
Right, yeah, she has a story.
It's kind of deep. I did change the spelling. It was Anjelah.
So I knew it.
It was.
I knew she
Secrets
was trying
come
to
out.
be
Yeah,
from
it was
PR.
basically basic.
I
And
ain't never heard no white person trying to be black, though. Yes, I have.
she's Mexican.
Yeah, let's say she's not white. She's not white.
Well, I mean, how I grew up, if you weren't black, you were white.
Right, exactly.
So I'll be correct here.
Okay.
Mexican, Hispanic. How about that?
Sure, whatever. You
Okay.
want. She's diverse.
Okay, that worked too.
So in high school, I was going to this church at the time, and the pastor gave this sermon about the importance of name, and he was talking about how a lot of names in the Bible had the AH at the end, like Isaiah, Elijah, Jonah, Sarah, and that the AH is the sound of God. Even in other religions, Allah, Buddha, the Ah is the sound of God. So when you have the AH, when you have the AH in your name, it means connected to God. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna put the H in my name to be connected to God. And then I changed the G to a J because that's my initials. ANJ is Anjelah Nicole Johnson. So that was my name. So I was getting real creative in high school,
That
and then
you
it
did.
just
That you
stuck.
did. I
And
like
then
that.
now.
So that's the first time you thought you were a little smart or different
I was
or
like, well,
crazy
I'm creative.
or creative?
I am so cute. Look at me. That's probably what my thought process was.
Okay, so let's talk about these high school years, right? As you seem, you're very confident now, right?
Yeah.
Were you this confident in high school? Were you the pretty hot chick? Were you the nerdy, not so hot chick? Do you have self-confidence? How was your
like
high school
The ugly duckling.
experience?
I mean, and became like, you know, because I feel like I was an ugly duckling.
You are still an
I'm more
ugly
handsome
duckling.
now. I've grown into my looks over the years. I can't say the same about him.
Quack.
I can't really say the same about him.
You guys are doing all right. Y'all are doing all right.
We're
both of
confident.
you.
We just say that 'cause we're confident young men.
For me personally, I bounced around. I went to a bunch of different high schools. I was actually, I kind of got depressed in high school, and so I just kind of would drop out and then go to the next school and then stop going and go to the next school. So I kind of bounced around.
Why was what happened? What was bringing on the depression?
A lot of things, the teen angst, first of all, faith, like trying to figure out where I was. I would like go to church and see people like raising their hands and worshiping God and like calling God dad and father. I was like, I don't even understand. Like, I don't have that type of relationship with my dad. You know what I mean? Like, what is this like? So I was like involved in the church and then also like conflicted with it. And then just teen angst, trying to find out who I was. I was, you know, Mexican-American, but I didn't speak Spanish, so I was trying to be more Mexican than I thought I was. I wanted to be a chola real bad, like, but nobody was scared of little Payasa Johnson. Nobody, like, who is she?
Right.
So it was just a lot of stuff and just depression and hormones and all the things. So yeah, I kind of bounced around in high school, but I was cute. I think I was cute. I had my dark lips and like my
You did the black
90s
lipstick
eyebrows.
and
Yeah,
all
'cause I was
that?
trying to be a chola. I was trying to fight somebody.
Had the Converse on, right, with the jeans.
Yeah, I
long
had my
jeans?
Nike Cortez or my Converse.
Oh yeah.
I was
Had your
trying to
khakis
be-
on, your dickies.
Yes, had my Dickies.
Please find a picture of this
I
and
need to
send
see
these
that.
to her
I
so we
wanna
can
see
see
how
some old
intimidating
pictures.
she looked.
Who was your best friend in high school?
Ooh, okay, so my friend Monica. So I wanted to be chola real bad, but she actually was chola real bad. Like, we had different upbringings. Like, my mom was taking us to church on Sundays, and her mom was a drug addict, and her boyfriend was a drug dealer. So all my bad stuff I learned from her. They introduced me to drugs. They introduced me to boys. They introduced me to all the things. And then my mom was like, okay, let's go to church. So when she stayed at our house for the weekend, it was a whole different experience than when we stayed at her house.
Y'all was turning up at her house, sneaking out the bedroom and all that.
Yeah. So Monica, that was my ride or die. That's my homegirl.
Do you still talk to Monica?
I
That
do.
is
I
awesome.
do. I do talk to her.
Does she give you like any type of, okay, this is what you were doing back in the day, now that you're this big comedian, like stay humble, remember where you're from type of conversation with her?
I mean, nah, we know it. She knows me. I'm still the same person that I was. I mean, we grew up and had different lives. Obviously, I was like a cheerleader and went into the entertainment industry, and then she went into prison. And so it was like different.
Interesting.
Oh,
we
wow.
went down different
Right,
roads.
right.
Boy,
But
you ain't lying.
But she's out now.
Yes, she's
We're glad,
out.
Monica.
Yeah,
We're glad.
she brought her life back together.
Right.
She's
Y'all was
doing
at
good.
forks in the road, and then y'all
Came back.
Yeah,
which is
I like that. I like that.
We talk a lot about, again, being a professional athlete, like a lot of the homies, your boys, whatever.
Right.
The real ones understand when you just have this passion that you're gonna stray from
Yeah.
the normal.
Yeah.
But when y'all come back 5 years later, 10 years later, it's all love. It's
Yeah.
all the same, like you didn't miss a day. You know, and I think that's the best part about having real friends like her. And like you're a great friend to her, obviously,
Absolutely.
because when she was gone, when she came back, I'm sure you guys got back to square one as well.
For sure. That I mean, you're right. Your real ones know.
Yeah.
And they stick with you. And it's the same thing. You can like go do your thing. You don't talk for a long time, and then you come back, and it's like no time has passed.
High school, right? Then no college, right? So you went
I
straight
did
in-
junior college for a little while.
Okay, where'd you go to junior college?
De Anza in the Bay Area.
Okay.
I went to junior college for a little bit. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I mean,
You
the
did a
fact
lot
that
of
I went,
figuring out of your life.
I mean,
while
that's
you-
the
That's
title of my
life.
book is Who Do I Think I Am? It's
Right.
always, I'm constantly
Who?
trying to figure out.
Yes.
that. It
But
is.
so when I was going to college, the fact that I went to junior college was a miracle because I bounced around to so many different high schools.
Right.
Like
How
I
to even get
didn't
to another
want-
school,
I didn't
right.
want to be in school, and then now that I don't have to go, I voluntarily went. Like I
Yeah.
don't understand doing
Bizarre,
that.
right.
But anyway, so I was in school trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I was, you know, I grew up cheerleading, and I wanted to be an actress, but I would never say it out loud because I was embarrassed. Because like, where do you be an actress in San Jose? You
Nowhere,
don't.
yeah.
Like, it's not like you see these celebrities walking down the street, and you're like, oh,
Nah,
I
not
could do
not
that.
in San Jose,
Not in
no.
the South.
No.
Not in the South Bay. No.
Right.
No, and even at the time, like, who did I have to look up to on TV that I could see? You know, like, you can watch the Cosbys and be
That
like,
wasn't
oh, that's
you,
an
right.
educated family. They're like a normal, like, working
Right.
class family. Like, there was no Latino Cosbys. There was no
Right, right.
Cosbys as. It's not like I had somebody to look up to
Right.
and be like, oh, I could do that.
Right.
And so anyways, it was like a fantasy at that
Mm-hmm.
point that I just tucked away in my heart because it was so far-fetched. Like I might as well say I want to be a princess at that point. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
So I would like tuck it away in my heart, but then I would go to the movies and I would be mad that I wasn't in the movie.
Yeah.
you
That should
know?
be me up there. I could have
Yes.
did better than J-Lo.
Like I didn't know how to do it, but I wanted to do it. Like I remember watching Training Day and seeing like all the cholas in the background, and I was like, I could be
I
that
could
chola.
be that Cholo.
I could stand
do
by that car.
I can do that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Just somebody need to tell me where's that car parked so I could go stand by it. Like
It's still there. You can
you
go
know,
tomorrow.
I had no idea how to do it. So I was like, that's embarrassing. I'm not gonna say this out loud. Well then I had a friend who was like a friend of a friend. I didn't even know her that well at the time. She had moved to LA and she was like chasing her dreams, and she was in like a Ross commercial and like an NSYNC music video, and I was like,
Oh,
I
she
know
was a
somebody
superstar.
famous.
Yeah, she's a
Hey.
superstar. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was living the dream, and I remember telling her like, hey, I kind of want to do that too. And she was like, okay, well, if you move out here, I'll help you get started and I'll help show you the ropes. So now like the far-fetched fantasy was becoming more of an attainable dream, like something I could actually go for.
Yeah.
And then around that same time, I had another friend who I grew up with. She was a cheerleader for the Oakland Raiders. And she was like, you should come try out. And I was like, nah, it's not really my thing. Because I grew up cheerleading, but competitive, like stunts, tumbling, like
Okay,
athletic. And this was more like pretty,
cute, yeah,
shake your
yeah, yeah.
pom-poms, you know, show a
I mean,
little
you can do
cleavage.
that. I mean, you can do that.
All
Right?
the things. But it wasn't my jam. Because I
Right.
was like
No?
tomboy girl. So I was like, nah, it's not my
Yeah.
whatever. But then I was like, you know what? I was thinking about it, I was praying about it, and I was like, okay, I will go try out for the Oakland Raiders cheerleading squad. And if I make the squad, I'll do it for 1 year,
Okay.
and then I'll move to LA to pursue my dreams. But if I don't make the squad, then I'm gonna take that as my sign that the entertainment industry is not for me.
Not for me. Wow.
So I drove to Oakland by myself. There was about 700 girls at this open call
Wow.
audition.
All right.
Long story short, I ended up making the squad, and I
What
remember
year was this?
This is 2002, 2003. We
Wow.
went to the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay in
yeah.
San Diego.
Jerry had just.
I went. That's
Jerry,
when I was there. You guys were over at the hotel right by the airport.
We were in La Jolla. They kept us as far away from the players as
y'all
possible.
went
Players,
over.
man.
We were over. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the
Bill
year
Cowher-
Jerry had gone to.
Yeah, to the Raiders,
To the
Tim
Raiders,
Brown,
and
we
then
had
they
Jerry
went-
Porter, Rich Gannon. We
Right,
had all,
right,
I hurt
right.
my shoulder. I sat out that whole year. That's funny.
That's when I was there at
That's
the Super
funny.
Bowl.
Okay.
So I made the squad, and that was my promise to myself. That I would do it for 1 year. We went to the Super Bowl. Came
so
home
that
from the
was
Super
a-
Bowl. The
yeah.
very next weekend, I packed up my room and I drove in my station wagon to LA.
Station
So that didn't
wagon.
inspire you? That
Yes.
didn't motivate you to want to stay again because you went to the Super Bowl?
You would think, right?
Yeah, 'cause,
but
like, it's
it
just like
didn't.
You're like, it's bigger and better things going on.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
it's like an athlete, like if you go to,
Not
let's
for a
say you
cheerleader,
switch
though.
roles, and then you go try out for the team, y'all make the Super Bowl the first go around, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna go again. I'm gonna try
Well, listen,
Yeah.
if I was making money, I probably would have stayed.
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, that's got a
Isn't
lot to
that
do with it.
crazy? I found out, this was years later that I found out y'all only make like, no more than like $50 a game.
What did you guys make?
I
Okay,
was
so at that
pissed off.
time, thank you for
I
being
was
pissed
I
off,
ain't gonna lie,
Omar.
Hatch. I felt like that was so inhumane to have them doing what they did.
They're
standing out there,
animals.
doing out there, and they only get paid $50 a game. Like
They get
yo,
paid off their appearances, right? You guys would do
So-
appearances.
Well, but everybody doesn't look as good as her. She doesn't
Well,
get.
thank you.
Appearances. She'll get appearances because she's cute.
I know,
Well-
but I'm just saying, not everybody gets the benefits.
Go.
At
How
the
much you
time,
get paid?
we were the highest paid cheerleaders in the NFL at $80 a game.
Because Al Davis loved y'all.
Right.
That's
and
crazy to me,
also at the time, we were the only team in the NFL that allowed fraternization between players and cheerleaders. But it was frowned upon. That was part of our orientation when we first made the squad. They were
With
like,
the team
they were like,
director.
yes, it technically, the Raiders are the
But-
only team that allows it, but it is frowned upon. Basically,
right.
like, don't do it.
Don't do it.
But we were the highest paid cheerleaders at $80 a game.
That's
We
balling.
did not get paid for our charity appearances. We got paid for selling our calendars.
The
So I remember the
So they
calendar.
had
We
like,
would buy our calendar wholesale and then we would sell it at,
Wow.
Raider Image for like $15 or whatever and sign our
that's-
autograph, and that's how we
that's
made our
so
money.
Wow.
that's so wrong.
I mean, if we look, we look at players from back in the day. We weren't getting paid nothing compared to what they're getting paid now either. So
But that, bro,
I get
that's
it.
a whole different.
It's a whole different level, but
Sure.
I'm still upset at that as well. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
I
that's,
hear you. I hear you.
So okay, so boom, left station wagon,
Uh-huh.
60 mile an hour, right?
Done.
Hitting LA.
So what happened was, I had my cousin was in radio in the Bay Area. I don't know if you remember Big Joe. It was like Wild 94.9.
Yeah, Big
and
Joe,
like,
yeah.
So then he comes to LA and now he works for Power 106. Now he's on Big Boy's Neighborhood.
with
now
Franny
he's Joe
and all those
Grande.
guys, Franzen, yeah.
So now he's Joe Grande out here, and so he was living here, and I had asked him before I came out here. I was like, "Can I come sleep on your couch until
Yeah.
I, get my life together?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, for sure." And then he was like, "Hey, I ended up buying." He was renting at the time. He's like, "I ended up buying a condo, so I for sure need you to come because I need you to pay rent."
Yeah, I need a
And
little
I
bit
was
of
like,
that extra.
Oh, okay. So
Put
he
something
was
on it.
like, "Yeah, I bought a condo. It's like a little bit right outside of LA, like a little outside." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Mm-hmm.
So I drive there. I get to LA, and then all of a sudden we're on the 210. Now we're heading east. A while.
That's
and then
that's outside of LA.
I see the downtown lights, and I was like, "Oh, it's so dreamy. I live here now. I'm about to chase my dream." And then we kept driving for like another 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
we were going to a city
Barstow.
called Monrovia.
Monroe,
Oh yeah, yeah, that's an hour out.
That's why I go to church.
And I was like, Monrovia? Where is
That's
this?
not LA.
Is Monrovia lost? How do we find Monrovia,
Yeah.
So I lived there at first with my cousin, and I would like drive in to try to get auditions and things like that.
Right.
But I started as an extra. I was an extra on Friends, which at the time was the #1 show on television.
Absolutely.
Right.
In the
It
world.
was
Yeah,
my
huge.
favorite show ever, and it was incredible. And how I got on that show is a fun story too. Get your popcorn ready.
Yes, just get it ready.
So there he is. So my friend who was like, "If you move out here, I'll help you get started." She kept her word.
Okay.
And I get here and she's like, "Okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go sign up to be an extra at Central Casting. And when you get there, there's gonna be a line of people out the door waiting to sign up to be an extra.
Yes.
I don't want you to wait in line. I want you to stop at the grocery store, get a tray of cookies, and I want you to bring your Raiderette headshot. And when you walk in to the front, ask for a guy named Sam. When he comes out, just tell him you're new to town and you want to be an extra. Give him the cookies, and that's it." And
That
I'm
is
like, "Okay,
awesome.
this sounds real shady, first
Yes,
of all."
but I'm gonna do it.
Right, exactly, exactly. This sounds like the casting couches everybody warned me about,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
trust you because you were in a Ross commercial, so you know what you're talking about.
Hilarious.
So I come with my sleazy cookies and my Raiderette headshot, and I walk in. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here for Sam." And they're like, "Okay, he'll be right out." Next thing you know, this guy comes walking out wearing a Raiders hat. And I was
course,
like,
you're in it.
we're like 3 weeks off of the Super Bowl
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Got
So
a
I gave him
fan.
his cookies, and then I gave him my Raiderette headshot, and I was like, this is for you. Immediately, he was like, Raiders, no way, like so excited.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm new to town, I wanna be an extra. He was like, great, give me your phone number, we'll make it happen. A few days later, he calls me, and he's like, hey, you wanna be an extra on Friends? And which was the #1 show at the time. I was like, yeah, I do wanna be an extra on Friends.
like right now.
And that's how it started.
That is fantastic. That's an awesome story. Did you get your SAG card from that as well?
I did.
So you're in the game.
Yeah.
Right? Extra on Friends, doing your thing. You think you're a superstar. You're not. But
Oh,
don't tell
but
yourself
let me
that.
tell you,
But
my whole family, like, once
to
I was
them
like,
there,
I'm
yeah.
about to be an extra on Friends, like, the family newsletter went out. It was like, she
My
made it.
baby made it. Yeah,
that's
my
it.
baby made it. Okay, so what was the next move after the Friends? Like, when did you start the comedy portion of your career?
So stand-up came as like a fluke, to be honest.
Wow.
I was on a new show. I was a stand-in on a
Mm-hmm.
show. And like, you know, for anybody watching who doesn't know the difference, like an extra, you're just in the background and, you know, pretend to eat or drink or whatever in the restaurant.
They already
and
know.
then
They've heard.
Yeah,
this
like
from
he's
him.
Okay.
doing right now, the extra.
Uh-huh.
They
You would be
heard-
an
they
extra
already
right now,
heard the spiel
absolutely.
From him, so you don't have to regurgitate this information.
Stop laughing.
It's already known.
Don't laugh at those bad, don't laugh at those jokes.
So I was a stand-in on this show. And at the time, I was going to a church. Again, all my things happen in
You're
church.
still trying to find yourself.
And still trying to figure out who am I. And this particular church was like an entertainment industry type of church. Everybody who goes here is like, want to be an actor, a director, a producer, or something, right? So on Tuesday nights, they had their creative arts night. And they would have like a dance class, singing class, acting class, production class, like whatever you wanted. So I'm in the acting class. And we would play improv games, and I was funny in the improv games. And there was a woman there, and she was like, hey, I'm gonna be teaching a joke writing stand-up comedy class. Do you wanna come take my class? And I was like, is it free? And she,
Right, first of all,
okay.
First things
And
first.
she was like, yeah, it's free. And I was like, I guess. I had no desire to be a comedian. I was just like, sure, I'll take it. It's a free class. Might as well, why not? So I take this class at this church, and one of the first jokes that I wrote was this nail salon bit that ends up blowing up my spot on
Bon
the internet
Qui-Qui.
years later. Well, Bon Qui-Qui was
was
from
later?
Mad TV.
Oh,
But the
okay.
nail salon is a stand-up joke that I did that ended up going viral when YouTube was brand new. It was a brand new thing called YouTube.
Yeah.
And it was at a time where, like, if somebody sent you an email and there was a video in it, you definitely watched it because you're like, what? A video in
video on
email?
email.
Like, it was brand new. So it was at that time where videos were new to receive, and then a funny, relatable story about me going to get my nails done. And it ended up going crazy like wildfire. And it was at a time where I had been in LA for a few years. Nothing was popping off in my life. Like, I was on unemployment at the time. My unemployment checks had run out. I didn't have an agent to get me auditions or opportunities. I had no money to pay my bills. Like, my sister would send me money to pay my rent and gift certificates to the grocery store so that I could get food to eat. You know, it was like, I was that place in my life. Nothing was going on. And all of a sudden, this video pops off. And it's 2007 in January. From January to February, there was like 4 million views on this video, which at the time, that was a lot.
Yeah.
It's still a lot now, but
Right,
like,
right.
it was a lot at the time.
I gotta go research this nail.
Oh, you do?
What color you like?
It's,
What color
yes.
you like?
Yes, it
You got
is. The
boyfriend?
whole
You
story.
got boyfriend? You got girlfriend?
Yeah. Have you seen it? Because those are all the things.
No, but I know, I'm familiar.
So all of a sudden, it starts going viral, and then by February, everybody in Hollywood had seen this movie, and nobody knew how to get a hold of me because I didn't have an agent.
Right,
and this is a time when MySpace was popular.
Yeah, MySpace.
So all of a sudden, my MySpace
Man,
page
boy,
starts
you dating.
blowing up.
Yeah.
I know, I'm dating myself now. I mean, because I look real young, but don't let it fool you.
You get away with it. You good.
So my MySpace page is blowing up. People are leaving me messages from all over the world who saw this video, and they're like, "Hey, when are you coming to perform in Australia, the Philippines? Like,
You're
fill in
like,
the blank."
what?
I had no idea that people started knowing about me. Then I started getting messages that were like, hey, I'm the assistant to so-and-so executive at NBC, at CBS, at fill in the blank. All of these network executives saw my video. and they wanted to meet with me, but nobody knew how to get a hold of me. So their assistant would find me on MySpace.
And you had no money to pay your cell phone bill, so that was awesome.
You know what I mean? It was like they were sending pigeons to my house. I was figuring it out. I'm really smart and creative, like I said. And so anyways, I take all these meetings. I end up getting a new agent, a new manager, and this video starts going viral. By May, I end up booking Mad TV, and I'm now a cast member on Mad TV, which is where the character Bon Quiqui was born.
Okay.
And then by the end of the year, I was headlining with stand-up comedy. I was a headlining comedian from January 2007, when I had nothing to my name, no money, no opportunities, nothing in my life saying, hey, you're on the right track, keep going. To the end of the year, my life had completely changed, and I'm on this hit television show. I'm touring as a comedian when all I had was, you know, these 12 minutes that I wrote in a free class at a church.
Get Your Popcorn Ready is brought to you by Wandry. Looking for more in-depth sports stories? The Lead, a podcast from Wandry, has you covered. I love this show. It's a really digestible way to get all the details of whatever the headline of the day is. The show is hosted by Otters Kelto and Tiffany Oshinsky, and they tackle everything from championship wins inside the locker rooms to fully detailed information of the situation with Brittany Griner's Russian detainment. There's a new episode every day, and it's always a story you'll want to know about at the water coolers or even that few weird minutes before the Zoom meeting gets going. Listen to The Lead on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or you can listen ad-free by joining Wandry Plus in the Wandry app. You can download the Wandry app on your iPhone or Android device right now. So get your popcorn ready and enjoy.
We always talk about a lot of transitioning out of stardom, right? Now we're talking about transitioning into stardom. So what kept you on that path? What kept you saying, you know, tomorrow's my day, next week it's gonna happen, all those positive thoughts that you were having? Like, what kept you on that path?
I feel like it was a couple things. One, like I said, my sister, who would like send me resources so that it was actually I
What's
could
your
do
sister's
it.
name?
You know, Veronica.
Shout out to Veronica. Thank you for keeping the dream alive. Hey, V.
Hey. It was my sister, and honestly, and I don't want to discredit, like, there was a lot of people who helped me.
Yeah.
So, but my sister was definitely a
initially,
stand-up.
she kind of got you started.
But there was also, I felt in my gut, in my spirit, like I could hear God telling me.
The many
I'm
spirits
not
that
done.
you were searching for.
Yes, I kept hearing him say, I'm not done. I know it looks a type of way, but I'm not done. Just hold on, I'm not done. And I kept feeling that. So I held on to that. So it's like when you go and you chase a dream, it's one thing when you just like have this dream, but it's another thing when you feel like you have a dream and you have a calling, where you feel like this is like your calling, where you're meant to be, where you're supposed to be. You wade through the waters a little longer. You go through the storm a little longer because it's more than just like, oh, I want to do that one day. It's like, I want to do that one day, but also I feel like I'm supposed to do that.
It's a passion, not a goal, right? A goal is the end of the race. A passion is how I'm going to get through the race and finish it. Okay. All right. So how so your experience in this success in the comedy world, right? But of course, you're gonna go through the lumps of the comedy world as well. When did those start?
Well, honestly, I was very lucky right out the gate. Like, this video went viral and I started selling out shows immediately.
Awesome.
So I was very grateful. I got my first hour special within my first 4 years of doing stand-up comedy, which is wild.
Right. What's unheard
And
of.
so I was very lucky right out the gate. But I would say, you know, there's ebb and flow. It's a roller coaster, this industry. Like, one day you're hot, one day you're not. And it's learning that balance of riding with it. And it's easier for me to say, looking back now, that you're right where you're supposed to be at all seasons.
Yes.
So when you're hot, you're right where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
And when nobody's calling you,
you're still right.
you're right where you're supposed to be.
Still gotta believe.
At the time, it was difficult though, because you start doubting and you're like, oh, nobody likes me anymore. Nobody wants to book me anymore. Like, I used to book TV shows all the time. Like, every pilot season, oh, I definitely had a pilot. It was like, which one am I gonna book this year?
Right.
And then all of a sudden it went to like, no pilots. No
Everything
pilots,
kinda
no
slowed
pilot.
down.
And then it starts slowing down. It's like,
What's going on?
what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, am I done? Like, was this it? And those are the times that it's difficult, that you gotta wait. You gotta wait it out. You have to be hopeful. You gotta get creative. Patience. And also, it's a fine line of not getting desperate.
Yes.
Not just taking whatever job comes your way, but staying the course and trusting the process. And that's what my necklace says, trusting the process. You gotta trust the process always and be in it. And for me, I listen to my spirit, I listen to my gut, like right where I'm supposed to be, and I follow my intuition. I follow that spirit prompting, and I'm like, okay, I need to wait this out, and then, okay, I think I'm done with this. I think I need to move on. I think I need to let this part go. I need to focus on this. And I actually got to a place, it was 2019, right before COVID, and I was burnt out. I had been touring at the time for like 13 years.
Wow.
And I was burnt out, and I felt like everything that I was creating, I was creating out of survival mode as opposed to creating because I'm a creative person. I was creating to stay relevant. I was creating because, everybody has a YouTube channel, I should have a YouTube channel.
Too, right.
Everybody's doing TikTok, I should do TikTok. It was like that kind of thing, as opposed to this is what's coming out of me because I'm a creative person. So I got to this place where I was like, you know what? I need to go on sabbatical. I need to take a break. I need to come off the road. I need to get realigned with myself, with God, get back into alignment, get back into what is my passion. And for me, it was like, if you imagine there's this garden that we all have. It's our career, it's our life, it's everything that we pour ourselves into. And you have this garden, and you start planting all these different things. And you can only give so much of yourself. And so if you look at your garden, there's like weeds, some of it's flourishing, some of it's not. And I was like, I need to go on a break and take my hands off the garden and let some things wither away, let some things die. So then you could see through all the weeds, and you can see what is flourishing, what you should really spend your time on. Because I would do things like, I would see my friend like, oh, she's directing an episode of this show. And I'm like, oh, should I be a director? Is that what we're supposed to do? We have to aspire. Right, and you just start getting into that like desperation of like stay relevant. And so I was like, I need to let some things wither away in my life and see what really is for me. And so I kind of did that. And it was like, okay, this is what flourishing, I'm gonna keep pouring myself into this. This is flourishing, I'm gonna keep pouring myself into this. Everything else is not for me. And so I went on this sabbatical, and it was January 2020, was the beginning of my sabbatical. I was taking the whole year off. And so I'd taken all my calendar dates off, canceled
So you're the reason
anything.
COVID happened.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh, now we figured it out, people.
I'm so sorry, everyone. My apologies. And yeah, so I was on this sabbatical, and then next thing you know, COVID happens, and everybody goes on sabbatical with me. And,
Yes,
and that
we're
was
all
my,
with you, everybody, the whole world.
my big, long break that I took.
That's
So
crazy.
not only did you take a break, like you said, everybody took a break.
Yeah.
So you really didn't miss out on anything.
Which
But you
was so
wouldn't have
helpful.
anyway, because it's your time that you're taking off. That's what you're trying to tell yourself.
However, let me tell you, let's be 100, is in the beginning, before COVID happened, it was very difficult because I was still watching my friends, my peers, hustle and succeed. It was like, oh, look at my friend, she's doing this movie. Look at my friend, he just sold out this arena. Look at my friend. And then I start doubting my decision of taking a sabbatical. I start doubting my choice. I'm like, wait a minute, did I really need this, or was I just a coward? Look at my friends, they're still hustling
doing
and
it,
they're
yeah,
tired.
yeah.
Did I really need, oh man, did I just F up, and was this like, I took myself out of the algorithm of life, start doubting my choices, like, oh my gosh, I just messed up. Everybody's gonna forget about me by the time I come back. Like, all of these questions. Then COVID happens, and then everybody's tour is canceled. And then it was in that moment that I was like, I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, you made the right decision.
I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
So like the faith that you have instilled in you, like where'd that come from? Is that from like just growing up, like your parents had you in the church every Sunday? You guys like the 4 or 5 times a week going to church type of family? Because it's obviously in you, till this day.
Yeah,
So like where'd that come from?
I feel like we grew up, we didn't go to church as like children. My parents took us to Catholic church at first, and they had me do my first communion and catechism in Catholic church, and then they got divorced, and then we had to leave the Catholic church because they got divorced.
Wow, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
You get divorced,
and
you have to
then,
leave.
Wow, I didn't know that either.
I mean, I don't know if it's changed nowadays, but I know that's what it was back then.
Okay.
So then my parents both started going to Christian churches, like separately. My mom was at this one, dad was at that one. And so we started going to church and like youth group. And I would say my teenage years, when I was in the youth group, is when it really shifted for me and I started building my own faith. When I started seeing other kids that were like me, that weren't corny, that, we went to this church that was very diverse. Black kids, Filipino kids, Mexican kids, Asian kids, like all kind of different kids. It wasn't just real vanilla. And street kids, we were all there and we were all learning about God together. So it felt like I was building a foundation then. And it has been with me until today, where I am today, even though I have evolved as a woman, as a comedian, as a wife, as a believer. My faith has evolved. I feel like personally I've taken God out of the box that I've kept God in since my childhood. This is what God looks like. It only looks like this one way. This is what the church says, so this is the way it looks. I feel like I've evolved to a place where I'm like, I feel like God is bigger than that. And I've gotten to a place where I can take God out of that box and believe, have faith, but believe in a bunch of different aspects of who I believe God is.
Okay, so I got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Listening to that. So how did Anjelah or Anjelah,
Anjelah.
right? So how did you, or when did you realize that you were funny and you became a comedian? Because you said earlier, or alluded to the fact that it just kind of happened by a fluke.
Yeah.
So when did you find out or figure out, okay, I'm funny, you consider yourself a comedian, now you gotta get on stage. And then, like I said, you went through this, this sabbatical where there was nothing really to promote, and you gotta get back on track. But prior to that, what made you think that you were a comedian and I guess you're in your faith and you're listening to this calling for you to become a comedian? And where did you get your content from? And then just the direction of your skits and your comedy. Because like I said, there are some comedians they're a little edgy, you know what I mean? There's some little PG, and then, there's different ranges of comedy. So I want to know a little bit more about that, and as well as our audience.
So, everyone. My dad was the first comedian that I've ever met. He wasn't a stand-up comedian. He was just the guy who got a laugh in every conversation.
He was just
in.
funny.
Wow.
He was the funny guy.
That's like me.
He's
That's
funny
like me.
looking. He's funny looking.
I make
but
people
he
laugh.
swears he
I
should
make
be
people
on
laugh.
stage.
You know what I'm saying?
He swears he should be on stage.
I should be. I'm just not going to be.
If you decide to, I will buy your ticket.
There
as
it
well.
is. See,
I will
come my show, one seat. Her and my mama. Betty, you and Anjelah go be at the comedy show.
So my
your
dad
dad.
was the funny guy.
Right.
I grew up watching my dad have a quick wit. He always had a comeback. He always had something funny to say. So I grew up knowing that that's what you do. You say funny things. And then I had the timing because my dad had it. My grandpa had it. It was handed down.
It's
We
in the
all
DNA,
have comedy
girl.
timing.
It's in the DNA.
My whole family is funny. All my siblings are funny. Our group chat,
It's hilarious.
let me tell you,
Oh, really?
I am not the funniest person in my family. I'm just the one who made a living off of it.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
I would say my brother Kenny is probably the funniest person in our family. His wit, he's
Really?
quick.
Kenny,
He's
tell me a joke, buddy.
Let me tell you, he is so quick before I can even think. And we're in text thread, so everybody's trying to
The bubbles is
one
going.
up
each other.
You see it, and you're trying to be oh, okay. By the time I'm even thinking where to go, he already hit it, and we're you win.
Right.
He's so funny, but that's when he's comfortable around his people. But he's not the performer.
Right, he's not on stage. He doesn't have that stage presence.
Right. He's
do
just
that.
comfortable with his people, and he's quick. So I'm just the one who made a living off of it. But so my whole family is funny. We grew up laughing. We grew up making each other laugh. I never knew that I was funny outside of that, though, until I took this class, until I excelled at the class. Because you always hear about comics who will tell you about their first time on stage, and they'll be like, I bombed. Oh, it was terrible, I bombed. But that's their dream, so they gave it another go. And they tried again and again until they worked at it and got better. Had I bombed on my first time,
You was done.
I would have never done it again because it wasn't my dream. It was something I took a free class because it was a free class. So if I would have done terribly, I'd be like, okay, that wasn't for me, keep it moving. But I did well. And then people would hear about me and they would invite me like, hey, do you want to come do my Tuesday night at the Improv? Do you want to come do, my Thursday night at Buzz Cafe or whatever it is? And so that's how it started to grow a little bit. But I didn't realize that I was funny outside of my family until I took this class.
What was the feeling like internally when you got that first big laugh? Like, it's like I know the first time I scored a touchdown, like that was a feeling that nobody could ever. That was it. That was the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was that moment when you got the first big laugh?
So, when I took that free class, our graduation from the class was we had to perform at a real comedy club. Well, we all had to bring 10 people. They call it a bringer room, which means you have to have 10 people there in order to get on stage. So there was about, I don't know, maybe 8 of us in the class. Everybody had to bring 10 people, but everybody brought even more than that because all of their friends were excited to support them. They just took this class. They're trying to be a comedian, whatever. So it was a packed house of what we call a warm room. Everybody knows that we're all brand new, and we're just gonna be real generous with our laughter. It was one of those, right? So we all spent time in this class writing material, and then the woman who taught the class was like, I'm gonna pick your 5 minutes. Everybody's just doing 5 minutes. So of all the material you wrote, I will pick your 5-minute set, and that's what you're gonna do. And when it came to me, she let me do all my material that I wrote because it all was funny.
Wow.
So you're special. You got special.
You're good.
I was like, okay. And I knew it was funny, but then she co-signed it and was like, just do all your minutes. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I was the only one who did 10, 12 minutes of material on stage that night. And great response. Everybody was getting great response, but of course, you feel it. You can feel a genuine
Not just
laugh.
your bringers.
Exactly. Exactly. It wasn't just my family laughing. It was everybody's family was laughing.
It wasn't your bringers.
But I feel like that whole process, me understanding what was happening and realizing, being backstage and her saying, just do all of your minutes, was kind of like, I see what you're putting down. I get it. I get, you see what I kind of know.
I feel.
Yeah. And then going on stage and then having everybody else confirm that as well. It was, again, one of those moments of I'm where I'm supposed to be.
What about, has there been any shows that didn't go as well?
Oh, honey.
Because we've had a couple of comedians.
A whole bunch of those too.
Right, we've had a couple of comedians on the show. We had Bill Bellamy, we
Russell
had Ryan,
Peters, Cedric the Entertainer,
Cedric and Ryan, Ryan Davis, and so they kind of take
me,
us down
me,
there.
I'm on the show.
Hey-o.
Who? Me. Hey.
Okay. Ryan Davis is where I was going. So Ryan Davis, they all told us about these moments where it's like, okay, you're not getting what you want. So how do you navigate that? And that's an experience in itself as well. And like you said, with your family, I gather they're quick-witted, so they know how to come back. They know how to rebound if it's not going as expected.
But it's also different when you're on stage in front of people. Sometimes the rebounds ain't present because you're freaking out because you're in front of people.
Exactly, that's what I want to know.
So a couple of shows come to mind. I mean, there's been plenty, but
we always remember though. It's just like being an athlete. We were talking about something that I remember, the drops that I had on those.
Yeah, that's hard to remember that many drops. But go ahead.
So how do you keep track is what he wants to know.
That's his first one. The first laugh he's gotten in how many shows have we done? 100 and something. This is his first laugh he's gotten.
There's a good one though.
Yes,
thank you.
He's bound for one after so many shows. He's bound he brought you on the show. He's one of your bringers. He's a bringer.
She's my. I'm
here for your audience.
I'm
That's
her bringer.
good. That was quick.
That was good.
I'm proud of that one too.
That was good.
That was good. I'll give you that.
Okay. Yeah.
So in the beginning of my career, I was trying to be who I thought people wanted me to be.
Oh man.
So I didn't have my own point of view yet. I didn't have my own perspective yet. I'm Latina, so people want me to be Latina. And the only rooms that I could really get regularly were the Latino rooms. So it'd be like Refried Fridays on, at the Improv or whatever.
Burrito Tuesdays.
It would be that night. And everybody that goes up is real super Latino. And I know that I can put that on.
Right.
So now I can do it as a character in my show where I'm just like, hey, if you guys don't even go there, like, you don't even know.
Yeah.
And I do that in my show,
Yes.
but my audience now knows that I'm putting that on. Because this is how I regularly am. I talk like this is what I sound like. But if I need to tell a story and I need to get like that, girl, believe it. Like,
Yeah.
I will do it.
Right.
But in the beginning of my career, that's how I would be on stage.
Right.
I would try to
So
just
you would
do
leave the 30-year-old white girl, which you are, and go to the 28-year
Exaggerated.
cholo chick.
Yeah,
Okay.
Exaggerated,
exactly. I would be that chick.
Okay.
And I felt like people could see right through it. Like, you can tell when you're in the presence of authenticity. And you can feel when you're not. And so I feel like there were a lot of shows that the audience could tell I was not being authentic to who I was. But it was funny. I could still make you laugh because I'm gonna do this accent. I had jokes about my mom and my dad in the beginning of my career, my first hour special, where they're talking in broken English. And my mom is just like, "Ay, mija, you throwing the ball," and like all these things. My mom does not speak Spanish at all.
Right. That's
But
hilarious.
I was trying to be.
Yeah, that's the image we would have.
Yes.
Look at you.
I was like, okay, they expect that from me. I can do the accent, so let me just do that then. And I would get the laugh.
Wow.
So there were definitely nights where I could feel that they knew that this was not authentic, and it would be like crickets. There was one night I had a guy come. I was dating this guy, and it was like his first time coming to see me, and I don't know why I decided to do this. But I started my show with like a grito, like a shout, like a like something, right? And I wanted the audience to do it with me, and they did not do it with me. And I led them all into this grito, and nobody gritoed. It was just me, and I was so embarrassed. And I had that guy in the audience that I was dating. It didn't last very long, probably because of that. But
Because of that, absolutely.
but there were nights like that. But then there's also like, corporate gigs are always, hit or miss, usually a miss. Because you're in a setting where you're not in a comedy club. Right. You're either in like the break room or you're at their company party where they just want to go to the bar, have some drinks.
They're talking.
You know
they're
what I
not
mean?
even paying attention
They don't want to
to
hear
you.
a comedy show. Well, one time I got a corporate gig booked in Las Vegas, and it was for a trucking company. Now, I don't know if you know a lot about my fan base. My fan base is predominantly women, okay? Women love your girl. Truckers,
Not so much.
not so much. But I got hired to do this event. I remember when it came through, I was like, they're not gonna like me. But then I saw the amount they wanted to pay me, and I was like, okay,
You gonna make them
good.
like me.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll take one for the team. Let's go. And when I tell you I bombed, no laughs.
You didn't research and get any trucking content?
No
trucker
laughs.
content?
And I knew it was gonna be bad because my opener comic, he's a dude, so I was like, at least they're gonna laugh at him. They didn't even laugh at him. They were just not in the mood for comedy,
No.
right?
Wow. We're here to get drunk and get on the road.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. And so he went up, they didn't laugh at him. I was like, oh, this is gonna be real bad for me then. Yeah. So I go up there, no laughs. And again, I cater to like the feminine crowd, nothing. The only time they laughed is when I started making fun of myself. And when I was like, listen, you guys, I didn't book me for this show. I wouldn't have done this. I don't want me here either.
Right, yeah.
Then they started laughing.
Okay.
I was supposed to do 45 minutes. By the time I got to around 20, 25, I started roasting the woman who booked me. Because she was like, I'm like, okay, you're the only woman in this whole company. Everybody here is men, but she's like, oh, there's this one comedian that's hilarious. I love her. Everyone's gonna love her. No. So then I was like, girl, why did you do this to both of us? This is ridiculous. And about 25 minutes in, I was like, do you want me to keep going? And she's like, it's okay.
Thanks.
And then I just
She's
got
like,
off
I got
stage
my
at 25
fix.
minutes.
Wow.
But they paid me my full money though. So
So it's her fault, not yours.
that's what I'm saying.
You know, it ain't you. It ain't you.
Yeah.
So I know we've just been rolling, I know, but let's get into the book, right? How do I think I am?
Who do I
Who
think
do
I
I
Who
am?
do I think I am, right?
Not how.
Yes.
So let's get into this
how?
book. Who do I think I am, right?
He's
Where-
maybe a little dyslexic.
Is it how or is it who?
Who do I think I am?
I just wanna
Stories
I
of
wanna keep
Chola
saying it.
wishes and caviar dreams.
Yeah,
That's the full title.
Okay, say that again.
Who do I think I am? Stories of Chola wishes and caviar dreams.
Chola
Okay.
wishes.
Now, where this idea, again, comedian, actress, right, writer, all that, right? But now book,
Author.
Author is
You're an
all
author.
some totally
Look at me
different,
go.
right? Now, where'd this come from?
So in stand-up comedy, we are taught to cut the fat. You want to get to your punchline as quick as possible. Take all the details out. Take it all out, set up punchline, set up punchline. That's what you want in stand-up comedy. So I'm a storyteller in stand-up. A lot of my stories need all the details because they're juicy details, because they really help paint the picture of where I was at that time in my life. It really helps you grasp what I'm trying to share with you, right? So there were certain stories that did not work for stand-up. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna save this for a book one day.
So you get to elaborate.
Yes. So I opened up this document on my computer about 10 years ago, and I started adding stories in there that did not work for the stage. And I'm like, this is gonna be for a book one day. And like there was this one story that I talk about in my book about a time when I ended up at Michael Jackson's house.
Nice.
I had just moved to LA,
Oh, wow.
and every detail leading up to getting there is important.
Yes.
But in a stand-up setting, it just feels like, get to the punchline. What's the funny
Yeah.
part?
When'd you meet Mike?
Right,
You know,
right.
That's all we care about.
But the meeting Mike was not the funny part. It's all the details.
Yeah.
It's
Leading
like
up to it, right.
helping you visualize me being this like fish out of water girl, 20 years old, just moved to Hollywood, all of a sudden is like being a groupie backstage at a concert, and somebody's like, oh, are you a dancer? I'm like, yeah, I'm a dancer. And he's like, well, I need some dancers for a party. I was like, okay, let's go. And I'm with all my girls, so he's like, you know, yeah, bring all your girls. I need a couple go-go dancers for this party. And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Wow.
And then he calls me, and he's like, yeah, I need 6 dancers. I'm like, cool, I got you. And it's like, next weekend, got you. And he's like, oh, by the way, it's at Michael Jackson's house for his birthday. Is at Neverland Ranch. And I was like, oh, okay.
Like the Michael Jackson.
The Michael Jackson. And so I hang up with him, and I immediately call 6 of my closest friends. They weren't even girls. I called my homie Harry, Chuck. I was like, bro, you wanna go to Michael Jackson's house? I just called all my homies, and I was like, yo, y'all could dance. We're going to Michael Jackson's house. And so we went to Michael Jackson's house, and that's like the abridged version, but like every detail of how I was even backstage at that concert, to how I even got to his house, to once we got there, like all these details. And I tried it on stage a few times, and I was like, it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
I'm gonna save it for a book, and it's now one of my favorite stories in the book.
In the book.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, to me, I'm taking that story and I'm gonna go create a short story for your YouTube, whatever, and put like a cartoon behind it and have you run that story. That's what I think because I just saw the whole visual. 'Cause it's not the meeting the Michael Jackson part, you know what I'm saying? It's all those little things that lead
I
up to
actually
that.
do have an animation that we're gonna release with
go.
one of the stories of my book.
Awesome.
There you go.
It's a story more so when I was a teenager, and my dad caught me wearing makeup, and I wasn't supposed to be wearing makeup, and it's a whole fiasco. I'm walking down the street, I ended up jumping in the bushes, so he doesn't see me. I hide in the bushes, but he saw me, and it's a whole thing.
Because you have makeup on.
Because I had makeup on.
Hilarious.
I wasn't allowed to wear makeup.
Wow, how old were you?
I was a teenager, like 13, 14. But when my parents got divorced and they started going to church, my dad got real religious. And it was like we weren't allowed to wear makeup. We weren't allowed to listen to worldly music. We weren't allowed to like
Probably
any
wear
of these
pants,
things.
none of that stuff.
All the
no
things.
skirts. Have to wear pants.
Or you wear like pants under your skirt that really, but he
There
wasn't
you
like
go.
that. He was more so no more listening to the radio, no wearing makeup, like very strict like that. But then my mom, it was a whole different thing. Like we would go to church with my mom, but we were listening to Tupac on the way there. Like it was fine.
Okay, that's fair, that's fair.
Yeah.
So in the space, right, comedy, actor, director?
No.
Never. Are you sure? Because you don't know who you are from what I don't.
I mean, I could figure it out. I'm just
Okay.
saying it's not something I aspire to.
Okay.
Although this past weekend I filmed my 5th hour special that I definitely, I didn't direct it myself, but I
Had some
learned
input.
more about it. I definitely had more input of the shots that I like to see and what, so maybe you could call me a co-director at that
Okay,
point. But,
okay, we'll give you that. So what's the big picture? If you can have one, the biggest comedian in the world, the biggest actress in the world. If you can only have one,
Oh, actress.
by far. Even though so you wouldn't want to be on stage and have, let's say, the Eddie Murphy Raw career for 2 years when he came off like Delirious and Raw and he was the biggest in the world.
I mean, there's no feeling like being on stage in front of a live audience and sharing a joke that you wrote, like something you thought of in your own head, and then you said with your own mouth, and then you have thousands of people laughing and affirming
Yes.
what you did, confirming,
Absolutely.
like, yes,
That was
you
it.
win.
Right.
And then you say another joke, and they laugh, and it's yes, you
win
win.
again.
There's no feeling
Right.
like that vibration of laughter hitting your body for a joke that you wrote. There's no feeling like that.
Right.
But
But
there's
always
something
but.
so special about, for me, a multicam sitcom. Being on set, I get to act, which is what I love to do, and it's a comedy, and it's filmed in front of a live studio audience. So it's kind of like you still get a little bit of that effect of the live laughter, you know, from something you're doing and something you're saying. And also, you get to live in one place, and you just wake up and you
Yeah.
go to the set,
Yeah,
and you do
true.
your rehearsal, you do your table read, you do your rehearsal, you do your
Yeah.
tape night, and then you get to spend the weekend with your family. You get to
Yeah.
go to your own grocery store.
Not
You get to go to
traveling
your
the
friend's
world,
baby
yeah.
shower. You get to go to all of these things where when you're on the road, you miss out on so
All
much.
that, yeah.
It's such a toll on your body, which you guys know.
Yeah.
It's a toll on your body. You're away from your bed,
Mm-hmm.
your shower that has the right water pressure that you like,
Yeah.
your pillow. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like they're both special and unique, but ultimate dream for me, I would love to have my own multicam sitcom
Mm-hmm.
and just be stationary and be here.
Yeah, listening to you earlier, you said you've evolved as a person, you know, a comedian, a wife. I was waiting to hear his mom. No kids.
I
You don't-
have a dog. I'm a really good dog mom.
That's not
Dog
a kid.
mom is a mom.
Let me
Dog-
tell you.
dog
Mom's a
not
mom.
kid.
It's a
Talking about
mom.
talking about
Dog
real
mom's a
life,
mom.
talking about a
And he
real
travels
life
with me
person that comes
everywhere.
See?
out of the person, like a real
Well, the
like
dog
a kid.
it's imaginary.
Well, I do tell my dog sometimes, like when I'm like just so obsessed with him, I'm like, I love you so much. I can't believe I gave birth to you. Like that's how much I love him.
So you
But-
don't want kids?
I mean, listen, the joke has always been, I talk about it in my act a lot, about how my husband and I always said that we don't want kids.
Oh, y'all
because,
both
you
don't.
know,
So it's a
you know, we like our life just the
mutual
way it
thing.
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Okay.
But I will be honest and say now that I'm getting older, that I'm about to be 40. And it's like, now that I'm getting older, I'm like, hey, are we for sure? Because TikTok, clock's
Right.
ticking. I don't got all the time in the world. You know
Right,
what I
Talk
mean?
about the dances.
Like he could have kids till forever
Yeah.
if he wanted to, but
Right.
me, I don't got all the time. So we gotta really figure this out. If this is what we want or don't
because I
want.
think you would be a lovely mom. Just
Thank you.
listening, your path of life, what you learned from mom, dad, brothers, and just your journey and how
Yeah,
you've gotten
you gotta
to where
share
you
that
are. So I
journey.
mean,
Thank you.
that would be another, I think, element to who do you think you are,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
not how.
Not, yes, not how at all.
Well,
Let-
maybe they don't know how to have kids. maybe they
let
don't know
let
how.
everyone know where they can find your book at.
I mean, you can get my book on Amazon, Audible. You can listen to me read my book to you. So if you've been a fan of my stand-up
Really?
and my
Okay.
storytelling,
And
then
how
you'll
do they
probably
find
be a fan
that
of
as well?
On the app, Audible.
There's
Go to
your camera
Amazon.
right there. So
Okay.
just tell the people, you know what I mean, where they can find
And
you.
action.
So what you want to do is go to Audible or Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever, and you can order my book there. You could go to my Instagram page, click the link in my bio, and
what's
you
your
can order my
Instagram
book
handle?
there. At Anjelah Johnson, spelled
Yes.
Anjelah.
Hey,
Yeah.
did you just hit me up like a crip?
You know?
I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
What?
hey, we want to appreciate you coming on, taking the time.
Thank
Again,
you.
I know we've trying to get you on for a long time. I know you're crazy busy because you're a superstar comedian, but thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely.
There it is. Get your popcorn ready. Anjelah Johnson. Peace. See you next week.